Beautiful boxing fans, I have an interesting theory and I would love to hear your opinion in the comments. When you talk about the styles, the clash between Terence Crawford and Saul Canelo Alvarez, two legends, I have a question, ladies and gentlemen. Now, of course, when you get in professional boxing, you get two types. You get boxers and fighters. So when you talk about boxers, you talk about someone like Rigondeaux or Mayweather or even like a Caleb Plant. They are pure boxers. They always safety first. Mostly they throw jabs, slip and slide, a lot of moves, a lot of moving around the ring. But then you have fighters. And let me tell you this, you cannot be an elite fighter at the elite level without having elite boxing skills. So just because we label someone as a fighter, that doesn't mean that they have lesser of boxing skills than, like for example, Canelo is a fighter, Plant is a boxer. But Canelo is a better boxer than Plant, even though Canelo is a fighter. But I have this question, ladies and gentlemen. When you talk about fighters, you talk about Canelo Alvarez, you talk about the greats, you talk about Manny Pacquiao, he's a fighter. And they all have better boxing skills. Like for example, Manny definitely has 10 million times better boxing skills than 99.9% of the boxers that you are thinking of right now. And that is why he can afford to be a full-fledged fighter. But let's talk about Terence Crawford, ladies and gentlemen. Let's talk about Crawford. Do you think that Crawford is a boxer or a fighter? Because in my opinion, Crawford is not a boxer. Terence Crawford is a fighter. And in this fight versus Canelo Alvarez, yes, he's going to box in some spots. Yes, he's going to be patient early. Yes, he's going to do this and that. But I promise you, ladies and gentlemen, I guarantee you, after a few rounds, Terence Crawford will fight Saul Canelo Alvarez. Now, will that get him in trouble? We're about to find out. When it comes to predictions, first I picked Canelo, then I picked Crawford, then I switched back to Canelo. What a crazy fight. But let's talk about the style of Terence Crawford. Terence Crawford is not a boxer. Shakur Stevenson is a boxer. Terence Crawford is a fighter. And you can't be a fighter without having dynamite in your hands. If Canelo didn't have power, he wouldn't be this elite of a fighter. But because of Canelo's presence and power, he can afford to have an absolute firefight with anyone and come out on top more times than not. But I believe the same thing goes for Crawford, because leading up to this fight, I hear a lot of opinions suggesting that Terence Crawford is gonna run. Ladies and gentlemen, I have a question. When have we ever seen Terence Crawford run from anyone? Terence Crawford is a stubborn man, just like Canelo Alvarez. He refuses to be denied. And I promise you, ladies and gentlemen, in this fight, Terence Crawford is not going anywhere. He's going to stand and have a fight. Now, like I said, that might be the worst thing that he can do, but that is the only thing that he can do because it is simply in his nature. You will never ever really see Terence Crawford in a fight running. Never. Look at the Mean Machine fight. When he was boxing him in the beginning, boom, he got clocked, got dropped, got hurt. What did he do? He was like, okay, that's it. Got up and went at Mean Machine like a madman and knocked him out. Versus Errol Spence. First round, he was boxing and moving. At the beginning, if you go back and watch the fight, in the first 10 seconds of the second round, Spence held his ground and landed a overhand left on Crawford. Crawford was like, okay, it's time. He stayed tight, he stayed composed, but he started to light Errol Spence up like a Christmas tree. He absolutely obliterated Errol Spence the moment after Errol Spence landed his first power shot in the fight. So this is all I'm saying, ladies and gentlemen. Terence Crawford is not a boxer puncher. He's not what you... yes, you can label him a boxer puncher, but in my opinion, he's a fighter. He is a fighter. And let's be honest, all the greatest boxers, for example, Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali wasn't just a boxer. You can't label just one. Muhammad Ali was just a pure boxer. Muhammad Ali was a fighter. His mindset was the mindset of a fighter. Roberto Duran was a fighter. Yes, they all have elite boxing skills. They can fight on the back foot. They have unbelievable footwork. They can slip punches. They can do everything and anything you can think of. Just like Canelo, just like Bud. But what I mean is this. In their core, in their essence, they are fighters. When you put their back against the ropes, and start to unleash with power shots, they're not going to just chill up and start running away from having a firefight. Hell no! They're going to hold their ground and look to get their lick back, as they say. They're going to look to discipline you and punish you with the way that you're moving, with the way that you're attacking them. And this is why I truly believe this fight, Bud Crawford versus Canelo, will be one of the best fights of our generation. Without a question. It's already one of the biggest. It's already one of the most anticipated. It's already one of the highest when you talk about elite level IQ and boxing skills. It doesn't ever get any higher than this. Saul Canelo Alvarez versus Terence Bud Crawford. And it probably will never ever get higher than this, ladies and gentlemen. But all I'm saying is this. Please don't think for 1 second that Canelo will look to fight Crawford and Crawford will look to run from Canelo. They're both at some point. Like for example, just like Canelo. You know, when Canelo was boxing Golovkin on the back foot and moving this and that. At some stage, I believe after the 4th round, when Golovkin landed that massive overhand on the ropes. After that exchange, look at Canelo's demeanor and look at the way Canelo fought in the next 7 to 8 rounds in comparison to the first 3 rounds. He didn't fight the same. He was like, okay, I'm still going to box, I'm still going to show my IQ and slickness, but I'm going to punish you every time you overextend. I'm going to look to land absolute haymakers and bombs every time I get the chance. That is not the mindset of a pure boxer. A pure boxer will just look to get the win by any means. But a man who is a fighter at heart and at their core, they will not be pushed back and bullied without retaliating, or at least trying to retaliate. This is the main point that I'm saying, ladies and gentlemen. Just because Crawford is going to do this or that doesn't mean that he's going to be successful. But one thing is for sure, he's going to do it. He is going to do it, and he's going to fight Canelo Alvarez. Not early on, of course. And even Canelo will be patient early on. I'm telling you, this fight is going to be, it's going to have everything. It's going to have patience, drama, IQ, brawl in some spots, fiery exchanges. Both men will land devastating shots. Both men will roll around and both men will defend against some monster shots. But who's going to break first? Who's going to win more rounds? Who's going to have the bigger moments? Who's going to shock the world? Who's going to deliver their career best performance on the night? Who's going to walk out Allegiant Stadium with every single belt in boxing? We think we know. Like I said, when this fight got announced, I was like, Canelo's going to win this 100%. Then I watched Crawford versus Spence and Crawford versus Mean Machine. I was like, what the hell? This guy's possessed. Crawford's going to win this fight. He's going to dominate. And then I watched Canelo versus Billy Joe versus a slick southpaw. I was like, my goodness. And Billy Joe is a pure boxer. He's not a fighter. And when I watched Canelo versus Billy Joe, I was like, this Canelo or that Canelo is unbeatable. He was so patient, he was so composed, he was so light on his feet. If you actually think about it, Canelo versus Munguia and Canelo versus Plant, he was much heavier on his feet than Canelo versus Billy Joe. I don't know, that night there was something special about Canelo. Maybe because I predicted everything that was going to happen in that fight. I predicted the round and I predicted the shot that was going to knock out Billy Joe. I said Billy Joe was going to duck into Canelo's uppercut and Canelo was going to annihilate him with the uppercut and knock him out. And that is exactly what happened if you go back in my videos and watch. So, all I'm saying is this, ladies and gentlemen. All I'm saying is this. At some stage in this fight, and I promise you it's not going to be that late. After a couple of rounds, I promise you, we will see some legendary exchanges. Some rounds for the history books. The moment this fight ends, we're going to log back into Netflix and watch it over and over and over again. That is how good the fight is going to be. I promise you. All I gotta say is this, lastly, ladies and gentlemen, September 13 cannot come soon enough.